Hallo, meine grüne Kopfe. On October 13th, 2025, the Monday before these words are written and spoken, the legendary illustrator Drew Struzan, known for designing the posters to such films as those of the Star Wars and Indiana Jones franchises, became one with the Force at the age of 78. It had been publicly known since March of this year that he had been battling Alzheimer's for quite some time, and was at that point in the final stages of the disease, no longer able to paint his posters or sign autographs for his fans. This revelation was devastating to his entire fan base, as Struzan was and is the most famous name in movie poster design, and Alzheimer's is a terminal disease, with only treatment to slow its progression and no known outright cure. We knew it was only a matter of time, and a short time too, before he joined the ancestors and left us to discuss his legacy. And now, it has happened. As someone who considers Struzan to be one of their inspirations as an artist, I just wanted to make this short, simple video to send him off, talk about my personal history with his work and what it means to me. I was first introduced to the work of Drew Struzan at a very young age, the same manner I bet many others of my generation were, seeing his posters as the cover art to the VHS releases of the Indiana Jones trilogy. Not the original VHS releases though. It was a box set released in 1999, promotionally titled The Complete Adventures of Indiana Jones, omitting the complete on the box itself. The release presented the trilogy as chapters 23 through 25 of the Indiana Jones saga, with the first 22 chapters being the Young Indiana Jones TV series, which was also being released on VHS at the time. The box set even came bundled with one of the show's episodes. I didn't watch any of the Indiana Jones films until much later in life. At the age I first heard of Indiana Jones, I was much more into comedies like George of the Jungle and Stuart Little. But the one thing I always took notice of regarding Indiana Jones was that amazing artwork on the covers, how well they blurred the line between realism and illustration with their use of color and shading upon perfect captures of the likenesses of their subjects. Whether that be Kate Capshaw as Willie, Sean Connery as Indy's father, Ke Huy Quan as Short Round, or of course Indy himself, Harrison Ford. As I got older and developed a love for cinema, I started seeing that same style on many other film posters. Star Wars, Back to the Future, An American Tail, Hook, The Muppets. And it wasn't just movie posters either. I saw it also on company logos, album covers, and even as the box art to a Spyro game. I would soon learn that all these works had one thing in common: the artist Drew Struzan. And it turned out he was quite prolific in his day. If a movie from the 1980s or 1990s had and has a poster that struck that middle ground between realism and illustration, it more than likely was a Struzan poster. And his work went as far back as the early 1970s and as recently as the late 2000s. By the time I learned who Drew Struzan was, he was already over the hill. He did come out of retirement in the 2010s to design a poster for Star Wars The Force Awakens, and 3 for each entry of the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy. I always thought, always hoped, that he had one more poster in him, one more masterpiece to give the world. But when the news of his Alzheimer's broke earlier this year, those hopes of course were dashed. At least he had those dragon posters to go out on though, and I must say, even in his 70s, he never lost his touch. I honestly don't know where the art of film poster design would be without Drew Struzan. Even today you can feel his influence, especially on the posters of superhero films. How they aim to get as much of the cast as possible from the bust up, the big landscapes they portray, the dramatic lighting that shines upon the scene. Whether or not people know his name, the influence is there. But if you ask me, they look less impressive. Digital technology of course has its place, but this look modern posters go for was and is always accomplished best in paintings. Struzan wasn't the only one to work in this style for film posters. There's also John Alvin, Stephen Chorney, Tom Jung, and Richard Amsel, and of course many others. But in terms of who made this style so popular, so recognizable, so influential, Drew Struzan comes out on top for me. If I were to compile a list of my top 50 or so film posters, a large percentage of them would be Struzan, and most of them would make the top half of the list. And that's Spyro a Hero's Tail cover. The covers to the Spyro games have always made an effort to go hard, even at the franchise's lowest points. But out of all the games in the series, it's not any game in the original trilogy, as much as I love them. It's Spyro a Hero's Tail that has the best cover out of any game in the series. Struzan would have been in his mid-50s when he made this cover. People of his generation have tended, and do tend, to view video games as mindless entertainment, one step above a toy. Struzan could have easily cheaped out on this job, or even turned it down. But no, even this video game for children starring a purple dragon he felt was deserving of the best work he could muster. And his efforts gave us, not only the best cover in the Spyro franchise, but one of the most memorable covers of the entire 6th generation of gaming, if not in gaming's entire history. Basically what I'm getting at is, Struzan is a legend in his field, and an inspiration to many, including myself. And it hurts to know that we are now living in a world without him. I don't know how poster design would have evolved without him in the picture, and I don't know where I would be as an artist or as a fan of cinema without him. His posters have always felt like movies in and of themselves, and they always will. And they will continue to inspire many generations of artists, of filmmakers, of film fans as a whole. Thank you for everything, Drew Struzan. Rest in peace, and may the Force be with you.